I hear, it just really puts you up. And I've never said, okay, if they're trying to stop doing drugs, but
Good afternoon, adventurers! That's right, it's Friday. We've been on hiatus, we've been on vacation, we've been exploring dungeons and woods and paths, oh my. But we are back. I said we. That's your cue. It's a cue. Hey, there she is, my co-host. Anyways, yes, welcome to John's Dungeon Corner. And we are back from our hiatus. And everything is good. And we got all kinds of cool stuff to talk about. Little things that amount to a lot. Yes. All right, so let's sit down and let's chat. Yeah. So here we go. So over the last couple of weeks, let's see. Went up to Pennsylvania and went to the Ren Fair up there, and that was amazing. It's nothing like actually experiencing all the cool stuff in a Ren Fair. Because everybody dresses up, everybody's walking around in full armor, and it's just cool. Now, you didn't get to go, I know.
I still have never been to a Ren Fair.
But you know what? Next time we go to Florida Ren Fair, we're going to make sure that you come along. All right? Because that'll be cool.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
I'll see Jack the Whipper. Okay. Maybe.
All right. Anyway, so we dress up as our characters and stuff, and elves, and you should see it's pretty cool. We're not the only ones. There's fairies, and there was a guy riding a dragon this last time. It was pretty cool.
I'll just wear a huge cloak.
Well, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Rena.
Happy Friday, love. How are you? But yeah, so we had a really good time at the Ren Fair, and that's kind of the first Friday. And then last Friday, I was under the weather. The weather fell on me, and I was under it. Anyway.
Oh,
no, but
and that's all for today. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we're done. That was a recap. No. No, okay, so let's talk about a couple things to kind of catch everybody up, because this is going to be kind of, you can't be a shark at a Ren Fair. No sharking.
I don't believe you. I'm pretty sure I could be my wizard shark.
Oh, boy. So, all right, so let's talk about, so that John's DC 2021, a couple people actually, they sent me an email, and I'm like, what is that about? I'm like, well, that's where you contact me if you have any questions, especially if you want to know what John's DC 2021 is. At gmail.com. That's where you actually contact me and ask any questions related to D&D. Now, listen, let me explain. And the reason I brought it up is because I'll get questions, and what I try to do is I try to like bundle them up into subjects. And when that subject comes up, or if I get enough interest in something, then just kidding. You see how people are?
I know I could be a shark.
Yeah, you can be a shark. But what I'll do is I'll bundle them up, or if that, and either use it as a topic and then discuss everybody's questions in that discussion, or I'll wait until, if it's like one or two questions, I'll wait until that topic comes up. I don't forget about you, and I know some of you have waited a little bit, and I try to throw them out there sometimes if they've been there a little for a while. But that's what that's all about. That's how I categorize it. That's kind of like the basis of the show. Now, so we've had shows about monsters and building the monsters, and well, not really building monsters. We had a whole Dungeons and Dragons part on the DM part, on the player part. We talked about miniatures. We've talked about all kinds of things. The thing is, we mentioned a lot of things that we don't have readily available that day, because really, when Fiona's talking about painting, she's literally talking about the techniques themselves. And yeah, she has all these different miniatures. And so we've talked about metal miniatures on there. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the bones. We've talked about the marvelous miniatures that are all come pre-primer. We talked about the Bones Dark. We've talked about 3D printed painter miniatures. And then we've talked about pre-painted, which you've shown off many times. So today I wanted to kind of do a little bit about that in a second. First, I'm going to go around here, actually. You've seen this book, right? You've seen this one.
Yeah. Monsters of the Multiverse.
Yeah, this is the Monsters of the Multiverse. And I'm going to talk about this one first because this one's ready available right here at the Collective. And you know me, I'm very much about supporting the store, because, and then you know what, if you're not living somewhere where there's the Collective, because there's only one of them, and it's in Altamont Springs, Florida, but go to your local hobby store and get this book. And I'll tell you why. Hey, from New York City, Willie Blanc. How you doing, brother? Excuse me. So
don't worry, Willie. There are rumors and whispers of potentially being able to order online one of these days. So the Collective may have.
Yes.
a national reach at some point.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Support the collective.
Yes, and nobody else, just us. We're the best.
That's right.
Period.
So now let's talk a little bit about this. First of all, it's one of the books. I think the Haragon is in another book, and I can't tell you which one because not a lot of people play them. But here he is, the Haragon. Okay, there's a lot of color, a real nice artwork in here. But what I like best is even with the Hobgoblin. All right, the Hobgoblin has an entire page, and then we go into the Kenku, the Kobold itself also, because that's kind of why I picked the Hobgoblin. The Hobgoblin has a whole page on it about, not just about the Hobgoblin, but the traits. Like it talks about its Fey gift, the Fey ancestry, hospitality, passage, spite. It has these different abilities and it kind of describes them. And it's really neat. As you go through the book, the Githyanki, their immortal enemies, the Gazari, you ask about these, the Furbolgs, the fairies. There's so much information in here that's descriptive. Yes, Deathlocks, there's quite a few of them. But the neat thing about this book is that it describes the actual creatures, kind of like what the Monster Manual does, but it gives you another perspective. And that's what's really neat. So then you've got, and I'm talking about just the simple creatures that you see every day, like I said, the Hobgoblin. Let me go in here. Another one that's kind of like, okay, so here we go. This is neat because this is a Drow art arachnomancer. Okay. And it kind of describes the arachnomancer. It gives you a class, another class. And this is a challenge rating of 13. A Drow challenge rating 13 creature, Here you got the Drow favorite consort. You've got the Drow house captain, which if you've read any novels about Drow, or you've read, the house captains are very important. They're the ones in charge of, the guard. A Drow inquisitor. Here's the write-up on a Drow matron mother. So there, look at that. I mean, that's just amazing. A Shadow Blade. So for those of you who have not looked at this book, you're kind of missing out. And if you want to do anything underground, here goes a whole write-up on the Dugars, which are the underground dwarves. So there's this. All right, Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. A lot of great information. This is one of the books that I talked about, and I showed it off, but I really didn't, and I kind of talked about it. I did. We had a show on it, I think. Might have been before you joined the show, but
I think so, yeah.
it's important that book has a lot of information in it. Now, I've talked about this book and I briefly showed it. I don't talk about these books a lot simply because this one's only available online. It's just one of those things. It's just the only way you can get it. But it's a great book, and I've talked about it and I've shown it off, but I want to go back to it because a lot of people are saying, well, where are you talking about some of these monsters? A lot of people take time and they go and they recreate the monsters. So they'll take a goblin, and in the Monster Manual, there's no goblin shaman. There's no goblin cutthroat, dark blade, any of that. So you can add a class to a monster, sure, but you got to kind of create it. But what if it was already made for you? And that's where this Monster Manual, the Monster Manual expanded from the DM's Guild, comes in. Okay, I got it through Drive Through RPG, and you'll find other things there. But I want to bring it up because I think it's neat, especially for those who are delving into dungeon mastering and they don't want to sit there and go and create every single monster. These monsters in here go beyond your normal goblins. Of course, I'm going to go to the goblins because that's just the way I roll. Love them goblins, all right? And there's gnolls and art. Let me get my glasses, actually, because what did I do with my glasses? Oh, dear.
You went and grabbed them.
I went and grabbed them and now I can't find them. How do you like that?
Lost them immediately.
Oh, well, here. I dropped them on the ground. That's why.
There you go.
Crazy. I'm like this voice that you can't see. Ha. Hey, happy Friday, Sarah.
Happy Friday, Sarah.
All right, so here goes the goblin. And there, to start with, is the Goblin Alchemist. Okay? Let me move this over here. The Goblin Alchemist is the first thing you see right up to bat. All right, gives you stat blocks and everything for them. There's the Alchemist. There's a Goblin Blackblade. And the reason I'm saying these are like one challenge ratings, half challenge rating, the Goblin Bodyguard. The chieftain, which is not another type of leader. And a lot of these could be leaders. The goblin shaman, there he is. He's a challenge rating at 2. The cutthroat, the chieftains of challenge rating at 3. All right. The goblin skirmisher, a half challenge rating. The goblin witch doctor, a challenge rating of 1. So it gives you a lot more than just your basic run-of-the-mill goblin. Now, another favorite of mine, of course, is the orc. So let's go back here to the orc. Because I think that orcs are another one of the underrated monsters. So that we can use. Now, here we go. We have the orc archer, half challenge, orc berserker, orc brigand. Those 2 are 2 and 1 respectively. All right. Orc champion of Grumash, if you want to do that kind of campaign. Orc raider, orc scout, orc sorcerer, orc war drummer, which is amazing. The orc wolf shaman, the orc witchblade. Now that's about another half a dozen or a little bit over half a dozen more orc type creatures that you can use. You can use them as accessory, as add-ons to orc chieftain, or you can make the orc wolf shaman the main protagonist. And then put bodyguards and raiders and maybe a sorcerer and stuff around him, surround him with some orcs. You got orc archers, and there you go. And you have a nice, well-balanced troop that your party can fight against. And a lot of this, one of the reasons why I decided to kind of tackle this today is when we talk about creating the campaigns and that, we always talk about the first level. Where do we go? Well, what about after first level? We talked about challenge ratings, but we kind of like sporadically just kind of touched on things. Now, talking about challenge rating, so that's actually what I use. The experience point value is what I use to create my adventures. Okay. We've talked about this where I'll take the number of players and the number of experience points that they need to get to the next level, multiply it out, and then I use all that to work in all my monsters, traps, and that kind of thing. Now, that's what basically all the challenge rating does for me is give me, and plus, I'm not going to put a challenge rating 7 creature in there with a challenge rating with a second or first level party. I mean, it's by itself, it could probably decimate the party because the reason it's challenge rating 7 is that it's that tough. Now, it's not just about hit points and our AC because that can be overcome. It's the actual abilities that creature has and the number of attacks that are really wallop you. So, now, when you put together your adventures, what do you do as far, let's say your characters are 2nd level or 3rd level and they want to go to 4th level. What do you do?
For CR ratings, a lot of the time I will start them. Like if we've just changed levels and I don't 100% know what feats and like new stuff that they've taken, I will start them by saying like, okay, you fight these like 5 like CR2 monsters. And if they are clearly like struggling, I might like take extra hit points off every hit,
right?
Just so that they like don't immediately get KO'd. And then if they do really well, then I'll be like, and they call their friends, and a few more of them show up, and then it makes the battle a little bit more exciting.
So you test them out before you actually throw them into an adventure, or something, right, to see where they're at. And
then I kind of see how much the hit points were for that. Like, say it was just the 5 of them, they did great. What the collective hit points of that would be like 200 hit points or something. So if I want them to fight one big like bad guy, I'm gonna pick like a CR15 or something like that because they're gonna be in that like 200 hit point range. But I'm gonna just make sure that their attacks aren't gonna just like one hit every one of my players. So I modify creatures as needed.
Which is good. Now remember, and that's true because the stat blocks that are in there, it gives you the number of hit die. So let's say, for instance, it has it's an ogre. Let's just say that this ogre is supposed to have, I don't know, I think they're like 10 by 10 D10. Well, that means that at maximum it's going to have 100 plus his constitution, which is 100 some odd hit points. My character has never passed the 1st level yet. Well, you have to play longer than 1 or 2 sessions.
Yeah.
That's usually, remember, people, you got to play in order for your character to advance. I mean, I know work and stuff, life will get in the way. So
just called him out just like that.
I'm easy.
Yeah, stop slacking, Willie. Get in.
You know,
Get on our level.
you gotta show up. That's all.
That's the problem. It's you.
But
that was great. Good.
yeah, it was.
Good job.
So yeah. But anyway, so that's just, you could literally max him out. So it's 10d10 plus, let's say 40. So technically this creature could have 140 hit points. Or you just leave him at 100 at the minimum. Or 10d10, I mean, basically 10d10 is just 10 hit points if you rolled nothing but ones.
Oh yeah.
And it gives you the average. The
Really?
neat thing about the stat blocks is it'll give you an average. Like you're looking at what is that there?
So 76 is 9d10 plus 27 for
Okay.
an ogre with a
And
battle
its average-
battering ram.
And its average would be
76.
76. So there you go. You can just go, okay, well, he has 76. He's an
Right.
average one.
Or you can max it out. You can do it's 90-10, so it's 90 plus 27.
So
that would be
117.
117.
That's cool.
And then you can do what I do and make it that, and then add a 1 at the beginning.
If you want it to be the baddie of baddies, yes. 1,127 and
Yeah.
17 hit points.
And then it becomes something more creative. And
Oh, yeah, real creative. Yeah. Why not just put a storm giant out there?
Is that why you don't play my games? Because you know I do something like that?
No, because you tried to kill my character in one hit, and you killed my character in one hit. That's why.
You were knocked out. You were not.
He was dead. He was dead. If it hadn't been for his brother coming and saving him, he'd have been dead.
Which you.
Anyway,
Yeah,
all
you
right.
got super lucky.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so anyway, moving along. All right, so there's an idea of how these books work. The monster manual is amazing, but it's got so many monsters in it, they weren't able to expand it. And there's other monsters, but I'm going to tell you, of all the books that I've seen online, I've invested in a few, but this is definitely, I think, one of those that I've been really happy with purchasing. And of course, I have the Monsters of the Multiverse, which is amazing, gives you so much info. And I think that's important, is to kind of let the characters learn about these creatures in a way that, well, it's right out the book, you know? And you can tell them, look, here's a general overview of the creature. Because some players are into that. They're into the, what is that called? The anatomy of the monster.
Oh yeah, they want the full description. They want the origins of it, and just like the body description and the aura that comes off of them, and just the fear, the size, just everything that comes with a neat creature that you can introduce.
All right.
Yeah, like that thing.
Yeah, so like that. Okay, so now let's talk about miniatures for a little bit, because that was one of the big things that everybody's like, hey, can you show us some miniatures? Would you mind grabbing those and showing them? Because that way, yeah, because I want to talk about these. Okay, so originally, remember I told you that when miniatures first came out, they were metal. Now, this is a dwarf, a dwarf here. Now, you're not going to be able to see it really. Oh, look, you can. Very nice, just perfect. Now, there is a dwarf,
This way.
nice big maul. That is a metal figure from back in the day. And as you can see now, this is a miniature, excuse me, that you have to primer. Do not try to paint any miniature. None of the metal miniatures ever came out pre-primer. There was no such thing until way over here, okay? So in the first generation of miniatures, now this back one is a Reladium miniature. Now, if you look at it, you can see it's really shiny compared to the other miniature. And you'll see that's because it's a Reladium miniature. If you were to drop that, it would probably break into 3 or 4 pieces possibly. Because Reladium, one of the biggest things about it was that it was porous. You can feel it. It's very light for that.
Yeah.
When you hold this miniature compared to that one,
This one has heft.
and this was very light.
Yeah.
And that's because and for being a bigger miniature, it's not as heavy as it should be. This weighs about as much as that one.
Yeah.
Which is and that's actually with a metal base, by the way.
Right.
Take this metal base away, and the miniature
doesn't weigh
itself doesn't weigh much of nothing.
Yeah.
So those are the metal miniatures, and yes, you have to primer them. The primer that they make now will work on them. I've painted many metal miniatures. Now, you've heard me talk about the bones that were supposed to be pre-prime miniatures that you can paint right out. Now, so these two here are both monsters. One's a pack mule. The other one, of course, is an ogre. An orog,
I just dropped
which is a
them.
half orc, half ogre.
This way.
So there they are. Now, size, is pretty much,
Ah,
they're still
This guy does not want to stand.
28 millimeter, just the size, of course, difference there. Now, those are white. You'll always tell them because they're the only miniatures that were ever made in white that I know of. Now, the thing with them was, and I know that we talked about it on the painting show, is that those are the kind that you want to clean off. You want to clean them off with soap and water, get that off, let them dry off. You definitely want to primer them. Now, can they be painted? I have painted them in a pinch right off, and they turn out okay. I guess whatever primer they used on them sometimes worked, sometimes didn't work. I don't know how it was applied. I think the later bones are better than the original bones was. And you can tell there's like a different coloration there.
Yeah, this one's
You know.
a little off white.
Yeah, this is
This
more
is
off white.
pure
This is like a
white.
pure white. So the pure white sometimes tend to have problems. Although I love pure white. When they came out in white, I was so happy because I love primering everything in white. Makes things pop.
Yeah.
But I noticed that,
I'm a black primer type of person. I like to just get those shadows in there right away.
yeah, that's true too. Although now they have the other paints that do it all in ones. But
Yeah, primer
So-
and paint in one.
make sure you primer these. Okay,
Yeah.
this is important to primer the bones. Now, then they came out with the miniatures that came out, and they all are pre-primered, and that's the next batch. Kind of that's like that's a miniature there. This is an orc, and then of course a giant coiled snake. These are all pre-primered. They're gray. They're like that matte light gray, and those are fantastic. And I'm showing you what they look like so you can kind of see what the color, because the color is important. I mean, metal is metal, but this is what the pre-primered ones look like. They're light grayish. You'll see them D&D, Nolzur's Fantastic Miniatures or Marvelous Miniatures. All that comes pre-primered. You can paint those right out the packaging.
Yeah, this is what I usually get, anyways.
Yes, and they're pre-primered, and you can paint them. And I mean, they come with the base and everything, so you just boom, you're good to go right off the bat.
And these are super detailed, even though
They
it's
are.
real hard to see on camera.
No, they are. You now in the metal ones were detailed. I'm glad you brought that up because that's something that's gotten better and better and better as the sculpting has gotten. I mean, in the metal, you could actually see some of the more pewterish ones because pewter is a softer metal would lose it because they get beat up, and you would actually see it. But hey, whatever. That's what they had back then.
Yeah.
They started out being made out of lead. So once upon a time, you were looking at lead figurines, but things happen with that.
Makes sense.
They
Yeah.
switched to pewter and then the palladium, and then it's just whatever metal they're using now. I have no idea what it is. I haven't kept up with metal. I haven't bought many metal figurines in a long time.
Yeah.
They're still out there. Now, don't get me wrong; they're really nice.
Yeah.
They're heavier. Some people still prefer them.
Right.
I have a whole collection that actually my brother bought me up at a New Jersey Ren Fair. I think I told everybody I showed them to him. Old like 1980 Ralph Parthas and Grenadiers, and I have them mounted on this little thing with blue stuff. I just put them on a piece of plastic, a nice metal plastic base, a plastic base
One of
in
those.
my case. Yes, that's where they are on display now. So then Bones came out with. From there they jumped to, and Reaper miniatures are amazing, to what they call the Reaper Bones Black. Now these are some characters. This is actually a pack. Well, it's actually really cool. It's a big giant turtle that this guy's trained to become a pack, like a pack mule, but a pack turtle.
Redmere, Pack Tortoise,
Pack
and
Tortoise.
Draymond.
And Raymond. So
Draymond.
and Draven. See, that's the merchant with his
Hard to
turtle.
see.
And then you can see now right away, Bones Black is it's black. It's not black. It's like a very dark gray.
Dark gray.
Those are pre-primered, and
Mid-tone.
those are amazing. They're like premium. I mean, they are really, really good. I've always liked the Reaper brand
These are
miniatures too.
backwards,
But
this
anyway.
is what this guy looks like
Yes.
on the back of the packaging. Very cool, very detailed, and also that price.
Yeah, you can't. But now,
that's
do realize,
unbelievable.
gang, this I've had for a while. I just haven't gotten around to painting them. Like I said, I have so many miniatures that I have not painted. Don't be fooled by those prices. They may
Yeah.
not. This one will probably not be that price anymore because I got this a while back when these first came out, like the second year or something that they came out.
Well, even I've bought
Reaper Bones miniatures recently, and they're still a really good price. Maybe
They are.
not $9, but still, I mean,
Well,
you're
you
gonna-
know,
you can do the 10 to
everything's gone up
15
is what they'll
range.
tell you. So, all right, now we're going to get into a different realm. This is the realm of 3D printing.
Mhm.
And I brought it out because it's out there. We've talked about it. And I'm not going to say 3D printing is great. I think it's got its own niche because you can customize so much stuff. But just like with miniatures, you've got your introductory level, I think what you would call 3D printing, and then you've got your grandmaster, where these figures come out and they're gorgeous and they print dice towers and all that.
Yeah.
Now, so this is from one gentleman, and the base and everything was made by him. These are a unique goblin that I'm going to be painting up for my campaign. As you can see, they're highly
nice.
detailed. I mean, it's a unique looking goblin. It's a little bit larger than normal. That's actually a 30 millimeter scale because these goblins are different. But that's what they look like. And it's a nice little base. It has a skull on it. It's checkerboarded like for a dungeon tiled floor.
Check out
And-
that stance.
Oh
too.
yeah, and I actually have a whole group of like 40 of them almost. They're all different stances, but I just wanted to bring the one so that you can see the detail on it. I like the quality of that. It's very smooth. Now listen carefully. I have never heard of nor found anywhere that comes a 3D miniature comes pre-primered. Now, I think on certain places, yes, they will pre-primer them for you. But if they come straight out, they get cleaned up and shipped off. They do not come pre-primered. That's very important to note. Now this one, and I'm going to use this one. This is from a company. I should have taken it off. Just put your hand over it.
Yeah.
But it's for a part of my campaign also. They make great the company, there it is. That is really nice. That is from a company that does, and they do many. And they were at MegaCon, and that's where I got that 2 years ago. Amazing work. But once again, as you can tell, this is a little lighter gray than the other miniature there. And you're wondering, why am I not covering it up back here? Because if you want to really go that,
I don't
read
think
it, I'm
that- yeah.
okay.
I don't think you could.
Now, and that one's a very high quality also. Different types now, and I'm not going to get into all the particulars because you really have to know 3D printing, but there's different wire polymers and polymers and all
So you
kinds
have,
of resins.
Like,
and,
your regular 3D printing, and those go from like something that's going to be really stringy and really obvious, and you're going to see those shelves really
right.
clearly, and it's not going to be able to get in those good details. And you have like a pretty good range of quality with that. And then you get into like the resin printing, and that has immediately starts at way higher quality, and then goes to like crazy high quality, to the point where like it would be ridiculous to print miniatures at such high quality. You'd never be able to paint them properly with all those teeny tiny fine details.
Yes. Now this one, and I'm gonna tell you, as long as you're happy with it, like this was actually, and the person who's selling them sat there and said, they're lined, and you can feel them. It's the resin that you're talking about with the lines in it. But you know what? When you look at it, and I'm gonna paint them eventually, but when you look at it,
This is clearly,
there it is. It's two horses.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that it's kind of shiny, and that's because it's got these little ridges in it, and you can feel it. So you can kind of see them almost, the little lines. But you know what? They're horses. I'm going to paint them. They're going to be a basic, and they're just there to represent two horses pulling a cart.
Right.
How important is it for me for these things to be perfectly detailed and for me to see their eyeballs and just be able to? It doesn't. So if you're happy with this, you can get this, and you can get there's a lot of people that will sell them, and they're not very expensive, and sometimes it's just somebody's starting out.
Yeah.
You support them, and you know what? I got a bunch of them like this. In fact, I got like a whole little box of like farm stuff, and that's where I got this whole big box. It was about a box yay big, and I got it for a great price.
Oh, absolutely.
As long as you don't mind that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Because once I paint that, everybody's gonna go, "Oh, that looks cool."
Oh, yeah.
There you go, big deal. I would never paint that for like a tournament, or for not even a tournament, but those what is that, the Golden Demon Awards or whatever, a painting contest,
Yeah,
I would never use that,
You
but
wouldn't enter that
for
into
tabletop, are
something.
you kidding me? I'll use any of these. I mean, I use stuff that, oh, look, that doesn't even belong in Dungeons and Dragons, but come here, I'm going to use you.
For our fun, personal enjoyment.
Exactly.
Anything is fine. I used to pull toys out of my son's toy box and bring them to
Oh,
D&D.
so that's why he's always complaining about he can't find his toys.
Oh, he's never said that once. I put them back when I'm done with them.
All right, so I just had to throw it out. I'm just like that. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the pre-painted, which we've talked about many times, but these are kind of like a treat. This is Wolfgar and Obald Thousand Arrows from the Dritz Dourdan R.A. Salvatore set.
No,
Okay, that's great. Don't worry that
Just
they're
throw
special
them.
editions or anything.
just throw them anywhere.
Yeah.
I should have reached out
But
with
anyway,
my
so
other hand.
that's them.
That's
Right there, I thought that'd be fun to bring them out. That, of course, is Wolfgar with his hammer, and that is Obald Thousand Arrows with his sword, his two-handed sword. They are the main characters in the Companions of the Hall and just the whole R.A. Salvatore series.
Very cool.
I thought I'd bring those out because those are kind of cool. These you don't see. They're both out of different sets. One's a special edition, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, cool. You can tell, hey, they're miniatures. Now, this is cool. This is the one, and everybody saw it earlier, but I want to show you, that this is a pre-painted miniature. It came out of the Giants box miniatures.
Very
Look at that. That is just so cool. I mean, it's a cloud giant doomsayer or something. You might be able to read it on the bottom. Antonio told me what it was, but I can't read it. It's just...
Spectro Cloud.
Oh, a spectral cloud. I'm sorry. Look at that. It's a spectral cloud. I was a doomsayer. I made a doomsayer, but isn't that the coolest thing?
That's very
And that's actually a blue see-through miniature at points that's been painted. If you put it up to the light, you can actually see the blue in it. It's kind of hard up there, but you can kind of see it. It's kind of like see-through there. You can kind of
If you kind of see where like the shadows and
right.
stuff.
So it's
kind of-
really cool. So this is
true.
miniatures. This is miniatures from where they started.
This
to
with a
where they
light-up
are.
base
Yes.
would look insane.
Oh,
It would
yeah.
look so cool.
If you put it on the light, I mean, it's neat because it's a hollow
hollow,
base. It's
yeah.
hollow.
It's gonna
So you
go
put it
up
on
in there.
something, you want to illuminate it. Oh, it'd give it a great effect. Now,
Giving him ideas.
oh yeah. Well, that's what we're here for, is to throw out ideas. So I want to go back to miniatures. So you were talking about you grabbed his toys and that. And a lot of you, that's the question I've gotten is, I keep getting this question. That's why I kind of go over it. Use whatever you got, right?
Do what you got. Go to the dollar store. It's fine. Go to Walmart. Grab packs of Transformers. Grab packs of Legos. Grab packs of
Yeah, the Legos, actually, Lego characters got to go.
little animal. If you're a druid, get all the little farm animal creatures and just.
I mean,
make it
actually, talking about
work.
farm animals, you remember when we did the big campaign, I had the 4 DMs in here.
Mhm.
I had a farm. If I'd have thought about it, or just, there's a lot of setup involved when you do something with like 18 players and
Yeah,
4
like
game
30
masters,
people.
and then we did the other one. It was just, you get 30. Yeah, it's just crazy. But if you, in a smaller setting, you can go and get that farm set. And what in the whole adventure there was that there was a farm that was very important to the town. It was on the outline because it was a big farm. It had cattle. It had a big supplier of wheat and that kind of thing. Even had a pond where a really cool fish it was a delicacy. And it's what the town was known for. So imagine, and everybody goes, but think about this. Okay, so you got to kind of, when you're doing it, let's talk about this adventure. So it's an adventure.
Yeah.
It's a town. It's got a farm. And so what do we care about the farm? Well, here's the thing. The town's one specialty. It's just like every other town, except that on this one farm, for some reason, there is this fish. And you can call it whatever you want. Okay? But it's a delicacy. It's something that this town is known for. In fact, when it's time to go fish that season, they hand out licenses, and you're only allowed to capture so many of them. Catch so many of them, okay? But here's the thing: there's a merchant that specifically buys, and the inn that specifically buys X amount of fish, and they cast spells, code spells, to keep these fish fresh,
Oh.
to transport them. This guy is actually a wizard. I mean, this is pretty developed, but let me show you how that little fishing town. And they take that fish, and he will teleport to like baronies far away, and bring these fish as adults. That's how big that is.
Yeah.
So they were actually defending it because the orcs, they don't care. Or actually it was goblins. The goblins don't care. They want this land. There's a town there. There's food. There's wheat. There's cattle. Okay, we're gonna go and take it.
Yeah.
So they were coming to attack the farm.
Right.
So we needed adventurers. So there were 18 adventurers that showed up to fight against this massive horde. There were 4 groups, and they each had their own DM. It was really neat. But that's the whole reason. Yeah, sure, it's a farm like any other town, every other farm, except that the town, its main wealth comes once a year when those fish are there. And they come through an underground stream. It's really neat. The whole basis behind it was really neat. So,
Yeah.
do you do stuff like that?
I need to do more logistics on how like magic could really help a ton with like
You'd be amazed.
just that kind of
Because you look surprised when I told you that this guy sits there, takes it, uses his cold spells to freeze them and keep them fresh, and then teleports them somewhere, or teleports with them.
because they've gotta have ways of getting that kind of merchandise around the world, and they don't have refrigerated trucks, so of course they're using magic and teleportation and spells, and like you just you don't really think about it, because we here they were like, oh well, they wouldn't have that period, and it's like, no, they would have it, they would just have different ways of going about it.
Right.
Like, they'd be just as successful and widely known as Bumblebee canned tuna, but it would be
exactly fresh.
Yeah,
It would be
super fresh.
So then that's the idea. See, and this is why this kind of leads to like these. Somebody was asking about, well, can your side stories? Where do you get the ideas? I mean, that's just it. Now imagine that. Okay, so that's how that starts out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, why is this fish important? Because, watch, there is a ceremony that is conducted in the duchy.
Yeah.
Where this fish is presented to the new duke.
Oh.
As a new duke is born, there is a celebration, and this is the main course. It is only served to a select few, but from the gentry, the peasantry, the gentry,
Mm-hmm.
certain people are invited to eat. So it is a huge. Can you imagine how special that must be? Anytime a male child is born to the ducal family,
Right.
the celebration happens.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a duchy-wide celebration. I mean, people are invited to the duchy, to the actual capital. I mean, it's a big to do. Sometimes you'll have visiting nobles, dukes, barons, of course, all the nobility of the duchy is there. I mean, it's a to do. And the goblins have taken over the pond, so you can't have your fish no more.
Right. And it's as important as Wagyu filet mignon. Like, it is the top of the top.
There you go.
This is the meal that like everybody knows
Emperors
about,
used to have,
and like very few get a chance to eat.
That's it. So, but there it is. I mean, now you got a little campaign going, because, and actually people are wondering, why is this baron going so crazy and offering these rewards for this?
Yeah.
Because it's his barony. It's in his barony, and he's gonna remember, guys. As DMs, yeah, we can just run these one shots, and that's great. I mean, there's all kinds of levels of Dungeons and Dragons, but when you want to build a campaign, there's somebody in charge.
Right. If you're really into that story building, you really got to get creative.
You got to have somebody up here, whether it's a barony level, a duchy level, a count, whatever level you decide, that top tier. And that's why I tell you guys, look at the end game and then bring it forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you decide, okay, I'm only going to keep my game in a barony, then your top dog is the baron. That's it. There is nobody else. There's only the baron.
Yeah.
Then now there might be a barony next to him that wants to kind of keeps looking over and saying, and then looking at them fish going, but you get what I'm saying. The baron is top dog, and then you flesh him out, and it trickles down, and maybe you have a couple villages, and there's a couple towns, and then there's the capital city. There you go. That's the whole campaign right there. But who does the mayor? When the adventurers show up to town, who do they talk to?
Yeah.
Unless you have an adventurers guild, they talk to the mayor. They might talk to a retired adventurer. So these are the things that you think about. And when you want a little side jaunt, the pond has special fish. There's a certain metal that I'll tell you what, there's two very rare metals in the Dungeons and Dragons world. Actually, in pretty much every fantasy world.
A lot of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Have the same-
Mithril
Mhm.
and adamantine.
Mhm.
Those are the two. Mithril and adamantine. You read about it, you hear about it, fantasy and animation.
Yeah.
I mean, even in animation. It's funny that I said, anyway, we're not going to go there. But anyway, so what's cooler than a mithril mine
Mhm.
being next to this little shanty town, this little village, or a town? I think it would have grown up to be a town.
Yeah.
But what would be the coolest thing is that that's the mining town that grew up around that mithril mine. Now, it's not a huge mithril mine because you don't want dragons or something coming and attacking it. It's just big enough to where the barony, it helps, it's created an economy for this town, right? And it's important to sort of the surrounding area.
Yeah.
But it's not so important that it's going to attract the attention of like, a whole horde of orcs or giants or something. So it's in that in-between stage. But it's very important to the livelihood of that town.
Right.
There is an adventure.
And it could be anything. It could be a farm that can grow this one plant that's a super important medicine for people.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Medicine or herb.
Yeah, or yeah, like the luxury items, the most important metals, the one person that creates the most valuable art in the world, and just all kinds of cool stuff, and that can be involved with magic and money and politics, and you can really, really build some neat stories around it.
And remember, your merchants aren't just merchants and getting things around. Like I said, I mean, I don't really discuss a lot of stuff that happens in my world, but there is a merchant that does that. He's a retired wizard, because what does a character have? What happens to a character when he finally decides, I've been adventuring for 40 years now. I'm just going to retire. They don't just go away into some tower and lock themselves. I mean, some will, but you take that NPC and you go, well, I have a merchant friend. Why don't we get together? And that's how that whole idea it's one of those weird things that pop into my head at times. But so I got into the idea, this guy can freeze food, unique, and he's got a wizard buddy.
Mm-hmm.
So what's to stop him from taking a cart and just teleporting the whole thing? Boom! And now we're 500 miles away, because I think the teleport spells like up to 500 or whatever mileage away, And then they rest, they sell their wares there. And instead of traveling, because you really can't travel far with frozen stuff. I mean, it's magic. You can keep casting the magic over and over again, which is another way. So that whole refrigerated truck, the dwarves could easily build you something out of steel. Now watch, I'm going to tell you how to do it. They'll build you boxes, a special box out of steel that you enchant with a permanent. Now, granted, this is going to take time, money. You kind of got to know what you're doing, but they make it out of adamantine for you. It's just a box about this big, and it has a lid. And you it takes 2 dwarves to take that lid off. Boom. Right? And then you have casted a spell. Cone of cold, whatever. It's freezing now. Okay, now it's freezing in there because you got cast cold and cold. Maybe a wall of ice on the bottom. Who knows?
I'm
You
sure
can
they
see-
understand the mechanics of insulation at this point.
All right, right. So you just
know,
basically fill the thing with ice on the walls.
Yeah.
And then you go permanent. And you make it permanent.
Nice. Yeah.
And you do the same thing with the lid, and boom. And now you've got a storage box that is cold. It's in a wagon. It's in a wagon made of, the most exquisite dark wood or ironwood or whatever unique wood is in your place. You've got a team of 4 oxen or 4 horses or 4 griffins, whatever you want to have it carry, take it along, right? And then you can travel that way. And you can hire the adventurers to protect you, because you're going from Nightvale to Dragonsong, and there's been bandit attacks along the way. You don't want to hire high-end adventurers and your guys that are normally with you. Some of them are with you. Now, granted, some of them are with you, but you need some hired hands because things have gotten dicey, and you've added a couple wagons to your trade.
Mhm.
So you hire the adventurers, the first level adventurers, to accompany you.
Right.
Simple mission. The orcs attack. Maybe they're led by an Orog, a giant ogre. Well, guess what? That's what his people are going to take care of.
Mhm.
He is not going to fight. He is going to protect that wagon. because there's a whole lot of money tied up in that wagon.
Yep.
Okay, he's going to protect the perimeter, but you're going to go out there and you're going to fight the orcs, and that's how you get involved with them. And he may give you a favor, and who knows? But anyway, you get the idea. Simple adventure designed from something which will this guy play a major part in your campaign? Will he interact with? Maybe,
And
right?
these tropes become tropes because they are good, great storyline. Everybody understands it. Everybody loves it. They're so common, but they're common because they're good. Don't be afraid to use.
I'm glad you
a
said that.
trope that has been
I'm
done
glad you
1,000
said
times.
that.
We love them, and that's why we keep doing them.
Absolutely. And even with the high level adventures,
Mhm.
okay, now take the same exact concept, but now instead of fancy fruits and herbs and meats and fish, these dwarves are now transporting a shipment of mithril bars.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we went from something, or adamantine bars.
Right.
Now you're talking about something totally on a different scale. Okay. Now we're going to hire those same adventurers from way back when. We're going to rehire them because now they're 10th level. And we need, we've been attacked by giants because they who would not want a couple wagons full of nothing but adamantine and mithril? Who wouldn't want that?
For sure.
How much is that worth, you
Yeah.
think? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You see what I'm getting at, right?
Crazy valuable in the game.
Same
Sure.
concept, right?
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, and you could say since you saved the merchants that at first level, now they've had the opportunity to finally build their business because they weren't having to be afraid of bandits anymore. So they had that moment where they got through and they were able to get the money and the capital to restart and reinvest. And
You're
they
10th level
grew
now, so it's
that
been a while.
business huge.
Yeah.
And now they have the most, expensive merchandise on the planet. And they need to move it from A to B. They got to get it on a ship and just.
That's a totally different world.
Oh,
there,
love
right?
that though.
Yeah,
Love a ship battle.
Yeah, ship battles are crazy.
Good old ship battle.
Whew. Yep. Oh my gosh! Look, we've been talking and we're just having too much fun.
We're just
But
enjoying
anyway, so
ourselves.
see, this is what happens when we get into these little nuances, intricacies. I like the word intricacies.
Yes.
About building up your campaign and about painting miniatures. I just wanted to bring these out because a lot of people have been asking. So here they are. I know you can't see them really well, but the most important part about the miniatures is make sure that if it's not pre-primered, and I've seen the inception of miniatures from way back when. To me, these Bones Black and the any of the pre-primered miniatures that are coming, and there's so many of them. Oh, we're having a restock of so many miniatures finally. So if you've been looking for wolves and just a simple basic stuff, they are coming in. The scorpions, a lot of the orcs, a lot of the hobgoblin stuff,
Yes.
spiders. I mean, that stuff comes in and boom, 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 it goes out. There's a big, massive restock. In fact, I saw some of the. Only reason I said giant spiders because I saw them in the box.
All the dragons are restocked now.
Are they restocked or coming in?
I'm
Both.
pretty sure almost all of them are stocked
Okay.
right now.
So dragons, because there was a big run on dragons,
Big.
on giants. Hey, come and get the giants because the new giant book came out, and Big B came out with the new giant book, and that's what this is from. Those miniatures, these are pre-painted ones, but a lot of, if you want to paint your own clan of fire giants or cloud giants, because they're very clannish. Giants are very clannish. They stick to their kind. They become clans within the giant races. So if you want to paint them a certain color and you need 2 or 3 of them for your campaign, come and get them while they're here.
And tons of maps. If you need maps.
Oh, the map boards,
tons
yes.
Are available right
Yes. So I think that's it for today. I know we talked a lot and we kind of rambled, but sometimes it's nice to have the ramble days to kind of catch everybody back up
now.
and show some of the stuff that we talk about, but we don't really have on hand sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
I think that's good. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it.
We did it.
What?
See y'all next time.
Next time. So, hey, as always, is there anything coming up that we need to talk about? No, not yet. Nothing special. I mean, keep looking because we always do cool stuff for Halloween, and Halloween's really not as far
It's almost
Thank you.
October, and there's going to be a Friday the 13th in October. It's
Oh,
gonna
I
be
bet you a lot of
real
people are looking over for
spooky.
that. Looking forward to that. Yeah, for sure. All right. So, as always, may the road rise up to meet your feet and make all your adventures be successful. So, from John at the Dungeon Corner and
Donna, also in the John's Dungeon Corner.
hey, we're in the corner technically. It kind of looks like a dungeon. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you next Friday, same channel, same time at the Collective in Altamont Springs, Florida. See you then. Take
Love you
care.
guys.